the beach. It's the beach. I gotta eat something for lunch. I haven't eaten today. Stress. I don't want to talk about it. I get tired talking about it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Ain't nothing changed. People act like something's changed. Ain't shit changed. Me, I've changed. Ain't nothing else changed. They never does. Oh, never does. I don't have the money for my truck payment. I don't have the money for my insurance. Don't have the money for my phone bill. I don't have the money for anything. So I got paid this morning. Had to go get gas. Y'all went with me. Filled up again. That's the second time we filled up in 2 days. $70 a pop. That's $140 for 2 days of car life. It's crazy. It's because of the heat. And you know, depression doesn't help because it's like, what am I going to do? They're about to take my truck, you know? What am I going to do? Same shit that I was going through last year and the year before that. I don't know. Nothing I can do about it. Work my ass off right now while I have a car so that I can I don't know. At least I'll have money to live on the streets. I'm laughing because, you know, I've already cried. I cried for 1.5 years and things didn't get better, so why would I cry now? Why would I cry now? So there's nothing but haters in the chat right now? I guess so. They always give themselves away. I love it. So my computer just updated. I'm trying to see if it's going to cut back on. I'm kind of getting worried because I done tried once and it won't cut on. I don't know why I updated it because he just sold it to me for school. So, which by the way is going great. I have a test tomorrow. My first one. Come on, man. Why did I update it? Every time I update something, this shit happens. It doesn't matter if it's a phone. It's a trap. There it goes. Maybe I'm not pushing the button right. I was going to put oatmeal in this, but I probably should since I haven't been eating. Oh, there goes the Coast Guard. That's a nice boat. I wonder if you'll see them launch it. There it goes. Oh, it just drove. Can y'all see it? There it is. Well, at least they can drive. He whipped that in there, didn't he? Where's that? Oh, I put it up. Damn it. The charger. I'm gonna put this in here. Even my test, I can just do it whenever I want. She was like, as long as you complete it before 5 p.m. tomorrow, it's fine. So at any time tomorrow I can do that, which is cool. I'm gonna try to drink some of this. It's crazy to me how people feel entitled to know my business after I didn't even share my business and I was just fired from a job. Why would I want to share anything else at this point? The audacity of motherfuckers, you know? Was that all that oatmeal? I guess it was. There's a little bit in there, but I'm not worried about it. I just want to put water in here so it doesn't coagulate. I'll clean it out later. So somebody had emailed me this paper about this woman here in Florida. Sorry, I'm trying to get this stuff on. She was let out of jail finally. Hello, in 2020. She was charged with murder. The Innocence Project of Florida got involved. Her name was Amanda Brumfield. What county was this? Orange County. They charged her with first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and she was convicted of aggravated manslaughter of a child. Sentenced to 20 years in prison. She was convicted in 2011. And her release date was September 4th of 2020. She served over 9 years. The reason that she was found guilty of this when she was actually innocent, contributing causes, unreliable medical testimony, insufficient assistance of counsel. So her lawyer wasn't worth a damn, and it was unreliable medical evidence that led to a false conviction of this woman, which is so common. There was one woman in the UK, I do believe, she lost 2 of her kids. There was a medical reason why these children were dying, but instead of using common sense and getting medical professionals involved, they charged her with murder. She was later found innocent, but Amanda Brumfield was convicted of aggravated manslaughter in the 2008 death of her best friend's 1-year-old child, Olivia Garcia. She was incarcerated on a 20-year prison sentence for an accident that was never a crime. Amanda was in prison for 9 years and freed on September 4th of 2020 in Florida after a deal was reached with prosecutors ahead of a pending evidentiary hearing. I'm confused. So this wasn't even her daughter? This was somebody else's daughter. It was her best friend's daughter. Lord, that best friend probably thinks that her friend done killed her kid too. Heather Murphy is her name. That was the mother of the child that was murdered, allegedly. And she wasn't murdered because Amanda is innocent. She was just let out of prison in 2020. Olivia's mother. So it looks like Heather, Olivia, and Amanda had taken their children to get Chick-fil-A and ice cream on October 3rd of 2008. Hours before Olivia's death, which was the child that would go on to die. Murphy put Olivia in a portable playpen at Amanda's house and left her sleeping inside around 11 p.m. Amanda, who was also Olivia's godmother, regularly cared for the child and had her stay at the home. At some point that evening, Olivia tried to climb out of her playpen when she fell from the rail of the playpen head first onto the floor. With no obvious signs of injury, In the time after the accident, Amanda painted Olivia's nails and gave her fruit snacks and a banana. They laid on the sofa watching television till around 2 a.m. when Amanda picked up Olivia to move her into the playpen and noticed she was not responsive. Damn. So the child wakes up from her nap, tries to get out of the playpen, slips, it sounds like hits her head on the floor, she slipped from the rail of the playpen and hit her head first on the floor. First of all, these kinds of injuries are so common. So common. It's really sad when nowadays you take a child in for an injury to a hospital. Oh, she slipped and fell and hit her head on the ground. Let's take her to the hospital. It's crazy to have the medical professionals immediately turn this into a investigation when the child had a basic injury, like they slipped and fell and broke their arm like my child did. It's so weird and unethical and morally wrong for these people to get tunnel vision, but it happens so much in the medical industry when it comes to false reports of child abuse. A lot of children get injured from basic activities, and there's an honest explanation as to what happened, but it gets turned around at the hospital by medical professionals as the parent was abusing the child, or you know, some other incident took place that didn't actually take place. This happens so much. But when she realized that Olivia was unresponsive, Amanda began CPR. Soon after, her husband arrived at the home and called 911. At Amanda's request, police and paramedics arrived about 20 minutes later. Paramedics took Olivia to the hospital, where the toddler died at 2:48 a.m. Doctors determined Olivia died of a skull fracture and brain bleed. However, prosecutors elevated this tragic accident to a crime when the medical examiner said that the injuries were not consistent with a playpen fall. So some medical professional said, oh, this is not consistent with a kid falling out of a playpen. As often happens in cases of accidental death of a child, authorities immediately suspect abuse and typically attribute it to the last person to care for the child. In this incident, Amanda was the last to care for Olivia. So the medical examiner in Orange County, her name was Jan, determined Olivia's death to be a homicide based on the autopsy. Jan had found a 3.5-inch fracture on Olivia's skull, bleeding and swelling in her brain, hemorrhaging behind the eyes, and cuts on her tongue. Amanda was arrested months later on multiple charges, including first-degree murder. First of all, first-degree murder is intentional homicide. You have to prove intent. So that's another thing as to how I don't understand how both of these women are. The one, we talked about another girl today that was named Amanda, ironically. You have to prove intent. So I don't even know how Amanda Lewis got first-degree murder charges and was convicted of them, when the prosecution themselves said that she drowned her daughter in a fit of rage. Well, if she drowned her in a fit of rage, that's not first-degree murder. That's second-degree murder. So it's very confusing. It's like, what in the world, you know? Like, what is going on here? At trial, Jan, the medical expert, and another expert witness testified on behalf of the state that the skull fracture was inconsistent with an accidental fall. The medical examiner said that it could only be caused by a car accident or being slammed against a wall. So the medical is trying to say that Olivia was abused by this woman, Amanda. Hey, Rebecca. Girl, long time no see. I hope you're doing well. So Amanda was convicted in 2011 and immediately sought to appeal her conviction. She was denied a new trial. All direct appeals concluded in late 2013 without additional comment from the court. In 2015, the Innocence Project of Florida and the Center for Integrity in Forensic Sciences began to represent Amanda as her counsel and as her counsel and filed a motion for post-conviction relief. In this motion, the Innocence Project presented scientific and medical expert witnesses' opinions that prove short distant falls like those from a playpen can in fact cause serious injury and or death, and have led to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission to warn about potential lethal danger of short distance falls from playpens, shopping carts, car seats, and high chairs. The Innocence Project also presented evidence demonstrating that the state's claims that Olivia was too young to climb out of her playpen were also false, referring to a 2011 study examining injuries among almost 200,000 children younger than 2 associated with cribs, playpens, and bassinets. Thank God for people working in the Innocence Project across this country. Thank God for these people. Child abuse convictions stemming from diagnosis of shaken baby. Sorry, y'all. I put on a nicotine patch and I just ate, so I'm ready to roll now. I'm like it's coming. I'm learning. I haven't read any of this. I didn't know anything about this case. Somebody sent me this, so we're learning this together. And there's like 2 layers to this, but it just makes me so mad. It literally, like, I can feel the adrenaline, like my veins in my throat right now pulsating. Because it makes me like my adrenaline run, because it just takes me back to when they done what they done to me. It just takes me back, and it just makes me so angry. It's like they literally will ignore evidence. They will literally ignore evidence if it'll just get them a conviction, and they'll also plant and create evidence if it, to get a conviction. It's just crazy. Child abuse convictions stemming from diagnoses of shaken baby syndrome or abusive head trauma are the leading cause of wrongful convictions of women. Oftentimes, the last person to care for the child is often criminally charged for what is an accidental death. Babysitters, daycare workers, and even mothers are often convicted of these purported crimes through the use of misleading and false testimony. This was the case for Amanda Brumfield. Medical and scientific evidence showed overwhelmingly evidence of Amanda's innocence and demonstrated that this was a tragedy that had no criminal genesis. In 2020, Amanda was granted an evidentiary hearing that could have led to a new trial for Amanda. Within days of the hearing planned for early September of 2020, the state prosecutors offered her a deal. Yeah, I bet they did. The deal meant Amanda could go home immediately rather than spend another 10 years in prison if she agreed to stop pressing her innocence in court. There we have it. Why would they want her to stop telling the world she's innocent? Because they know that she is. It makes them look bad. This woman is free now, thank God. But as you heard just now, the leading call, what did it say? Let me just, I need to refresh, because sometimes I have to read stuff like 5 times. Child abuse convictions stemming from diagnosis of shaken baby syndrome or abusive head trauma are the leading cause of wrongful convictions of women. This could happen to any woman. Just want to be clear. That says of women. How terrifying. You got to be worried about taking your kid to the hospital after they slip and fall and bust their head on the deck out back. Or, Lord forbid, they fall out of a tree and bang their head. You take them to the hospital and they say you done shook your child and you go to prison for child abuse. It's that easy. Happens all the time. All the time. And let me tell you something about the Innocence Project. There's not enough of those people working in those great communities doing a service to civilians. There's not enough of them to go around for all of the actual women that are locked up in prison for crimes they did not commit. It's crazy. It's sickening. So they wanted her to immediately stop saying that she was innocent. Did she take the deal? So she took the deal because it meant she could be freed immediately. Amanda was released from prison on September 4th of 2020 after 9 years of wrongful incarceration. The Innocence Project continues to fight to vindicate Amanda and has asked the State Board of Executive Clemency to pardon her based on new medical and scientific testimony from experts in the case that demonstrates that this child tragically died from an accidental fall. Yo, she was babysitting her friend's kid. Once again, let's look at the faces of innocent women when they're in court. Look at that. Does that look like Lori Vallow to you? No, it don't. It looks like an innocent fucking woman. How fucking sad. Amanda Brumfield, who was convicted but maintained her innocence in a 2008 death of her best friend's 1-year-old toddler, has been released early from her 20-year prison sentence after a deal with prosecutors. The nonprofit, the Innocence Project, which seeks to exonerate wrongly convicted people, had recently asked the State Board of Executive Clemency to pardon her or commute her sentence, arguing that she was wrongfully convicted of a crime disproven by medical and scientific evidence. Her release was not thanks to the Clemency Board. Ahead of a hearing planned for next week on the motion to seek a new trial, state prosecutors offered Amanda a deal. The Innocence Project said she could be released if she agreed to stop pressing her innocence in court. So they let her go. Do you read through the bullshit? Let me tell you why they let her go. They had no evidence, and they knew that if she got a new trial, they would be cooked for cooking an innocent woman. So they said, as long as you shut up about being innocent, we'll let you out of jail. And that's what they did. Crazy. Amanda was convicted at a trial in 2011 of Olivia Madison Garcia's death. Olivia's mother and Amanda had taken the kids to get ice cream, and then it appears that Olivia's mother left Olivia with Amanda, and Amanda said that the child crawled out of the playpen and she fell and hit her head on the floor, and that everything seemed to be fine, but the child was unresponsive later. Now, she was convicted because they said that a child couldn't sustain injuries like this from a fall. They absolutely can. They can die from a foot fall if they hit their head in the wrong place and on the wrong thing, honey. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. She was arrested on first-degree murder and other charges. There is a potential lethal danger of short-distance fall. And this can be from shopping carts, child seats, and high chairs, like I read earlier. So the Innocence Project said this course of events follows a pattern when women, babysitters, daycare workers, and even mothers have a child die in their care. Despite contrary evidence, the authorities assume abuse and pin that abuse on the woman who was always the last person to have been with the child before his or her demise. It looks like she has a husband and stuff, and it looks like she's happy now. She was released in 2020, so she's been out for, 5 years almost. So crazy. Yo, it's so hot outside. Oh, so hot. I don't need a block. Yeah, I know. Did you see the tail light expert talking about Karen Reed? Crazy. Listen, y'all, let me tell you something about these experts. These experts take gifts, dinners. They'll say whatever the prosecution wants them to say as long as they pay them off good enough, honey. These people are friends. I don't think people understand. There's no, like, there used to be, like, ethics in law and, like, the criminal justice system, and it's not anymore. It's not anymore. Yeah, I saw the tail light expert, Karen Reed. And you can't even find an article on it. Like, where's the media? This should be all in the news. I mean, it's literally... I'm just so exhausted from trying to keep up. They don't... Brain surgeon testifies that John O'Keefe died from a fall on frozen ground in Karen Reed trial. John O'Keefe died from falling backwards and hitting his head on frozen ground, according to the Yale-educated brain surgeon who testified Wednesday in the murder trial of Karen Reed. Reed, 45, is accused of killing her then-boyfriend, 46-year-old John O'Keefe, by hitting him with her 2021 Lexus SUV on January 29th of 2022, then leaving him to die on the ground in a blizzard in Canton, Massachusetts, about 20 miles south of Boston. The head trauma and skull fracture he sustained, coupled with hypothermia from the cold, would not have killed him immediately, according to Dr. Aizik Wolf, who testified he treated many similar injuries in his career working in Minneapolis. I can't believe I said that right. Yeah, we've talked about Karen Reed before. I've talked about her innocence and how, in my opinion, John O'Keefe knew something. He was either A, complicit in some kind of corruption in the sheriff's department and they needed him shut up. B, this was a stupid drunken fight of him and his best friend getting in a fucking fight and then his friend dumping his body out in the road. C, he knew something he shouldn't have known and then this led to this fight, which led to his life being taken. Listen, notice I didn't say anything else about Karen. The evidence does not support that she mowed him down in a fit of fucking rage. It's not there. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's not there. Okay? This is a woman who, if you hear her talk, you can see how intellectually and emotionally inclined she is. This is not some Jerry Springer guest. Okay? This is a woman who is well-to-do, who is respectable, who is classy, who has couth. Okay? Like, they're going to hate her because of that and try to frame her anyways. But the text, the Google searches from inside the home, asking how long it takes a body to die outside, that's suspicious, okay? The dog bites and dog scratches, dog hair, there's no debating that evidence. Something happened that night, and Karen was not even there. So she dropped him off. She came back to look for him because she had not heard from him, and she finds him dead in the snow. And in her adrenaline state, she made very concerning comments. She said, "Oh my God, I ran him over. Did I run him over? What is it, me that ran it?" You know, she was questioning her own reality, because she did not understand what was going on. And so she was questioning herself aloud, okay? And she's allowed to do that. I talk to myself all the time. So it's actually, people who do that are more intellectually inclined than others that don't do it. Fun fact, there's a psychological reason for it. So she was questioning herself aloud because the scene was so concerning. She just found her boyfriend dead, the love of her life. They probably did have problems. Every relationship has fucking problems. I'm not saying that they were perfect. But it's crazy how videos have been cut, evidence. It's just weird. The whole case is weird, and I don't think she did it. I think that he probably got in a fight with whoever he was there to see. Wasn't it his partner? What was his damn name? So the medical examiner is saying the only way he could have got this kind of injury was to fall backwards, hit the back of his head, and then the resulting energy forces going into his brain, into the base of his skull. Oh, that's why his eyes were blacked. That's why he had raccoon eyes. Remember, I thought somebody done blacked his freaking eyes. Brian Albert, yeah. Thank you. They're saying that this is why his eyes were blacked. Swelling in the victim's brain would have killed him under normal circumstances, usually within 24 to 48 hours. I wonder if that dog scuffle happened outside. Because if that dog would have been jumping up on him, and this is Massachusetts, they were in the middle of a fucking blizzard. Everything would have been iced over. Everything would have been slippery. I'm wondering if he fucking fell in the driveway, like, if that's when the dog thing happened, because he had scratches and wounds and dog hair all over him, so we know that he was in contact with the dog. I wonder if this literally just happened in the front yard at like 3 a.m. You know what I mean? I wonder if it happened, and that would explain why somebody Google searched from inside of the home how long it would take his body to die in the snow. If the incident happened outside in the front yard, the dog bit him, John is squabbling with Brian, and then the dog jumps up on John, knocks him back, he hits his head, Brian goes in the house and starts Googling how long it's going to take for his dead body to die, or for his body to die. You know what I mean? I wonder if it happened in the yard. I was always under the impression that the altercation took place, and that's what the defense is alleging. That's what Karen's defense is alleging, that there was an altercation in the home or about the home property, and that John was killed by someone on that property. Karen was not even there. She allegedly dropped him off, took off, could not find him, could not get him to respond on his phone. She went back to look for him, and she found him dead in the snow. And she made some very concerning statements. But listen, you guys, everybody does that when they've got a team of fucking investigators breathing down their throat, okay? And she just found her boyfriend dead, yo. They don't give you time to grieve. They don't give a fuck about your grieving. They don't give a fuck that you've been triggered. They don't care that you're bothered. They're worried about their fucking investigation. It's crazy. So it says that he hit his head so hard that he would have died between 24 and 48 hours after that kind of severe impact to the brain. In January, nor'easter, John O'Keefe's body temperature also tanked. When paramedics found him at 6 a.m., his temperature was just 80 degrees below the threshold for what medical professionals call severe hypothermia. So this medical examiner says that he treats many patients with similar injuries early in his career. When he worked in Minneapolis Trauma Center, the city can be brutally cold during the winter. Many of the wounds were fatal. Some were inflicted on drunk patients who slipped on the ice. Others involved people who fell over after suffering a heart attack in the cold. So they're trying to say, so this person was for the freaking prosecution. They're trying to say that she hit him and left him there. You know, it's crazy because their evidence is our defense. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a second. No. No. It's crazy because that's the prosecution doctor saying that she hit him and that his body being out there killed him, and that it was from his head hitting the ice after she mowed him over. The testimony from Dr. Wolf sets up the Commonwealth's argument for count 2, the involuntary manslaughter charge. The Commonwealth will argue to the jury if they cannot find Karen Reed caused John O'Keefe's death intentionally, counts 1 and 3. Then her driving or sideswiping of him, and then the act of leaving him injured. You're hot. You overheated. Hello, Kimmy. They use red solo. No way, girl. I haven't been paying attention. I've been so busy. Collect blood evidence. Whose blood? John's blood off the cement? Like, what? Make sure you're not going to overheat again. This is crazy. Stuff's always breaking. Always breaking. Charge that so bad. Yeah, it says that my phone is getting hot over there. So yeah, I really thought that seeing this new evidence from the Karen Reed trial, that like it would help her situation, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like it's actually hurting her. So one of the expert witnesses, she said Wednesday afternoon that some of the plastic debris recovered from John O'Keefe's clothing was, quote, consistent with the materials used in Reed's Lexus, but could have come from another source with similar characteristics. So, you know, they're not saying that the material, the debris found on John O'Keefe, they're not saying that it's from her Lexus. They can't be sure, is what the witness said. During cross-examination, the same witness revealed that none of the broken glass on Reed's bumper matched the shattered cocktail glass found in the yard near John O'Keefe. So they were not even similar or consistent at all. Lord have mercy. I wish I knew more on Brian and John O'Keefe's history. The 45-year-old Massachusetts woman is accused of striking her Boston boyfriend, who was a police officer, John O'Keefe, with her Lexus in a drunken rage and leaving him out to die. Reed's attorney says she was framed for the murder by the owner of the home, Brian Albert, and others. Girl, I know. I'm so sorry. What else has been said? Because you know they don't print shit in the news anymore. It's not like I can get it from a news article. Let me tell y'all something. This witness, this specialist, red plastic pieces found in John O'Keefe's clothing could have originated from Reed's taillight or another source with the same characteristics. This is not something to be playing with. We have to know for sure if it originated from the taillight or if it didn't. We cannot convict somebody on the possibility that it could be from another source. Or we have to know definitively that it came from her taillight to convict her. The expert witness cannot confirm or deny that what was found on John O'Keefe's clothes even matched the taillight. So that witness is irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't even do her job. She's not telling us if these pieces, she said, another source with the same characteristics. It could have been something else with the same characteristics. The fact that we're even having this discussion when an expert witness is saying red plastic pieces found in John O'Keefe's clothing could have originated from Karen Reed's taillight or another source with the same characteristics. The fact that this witness was even put on the stand is beyond me, because they are not answering the question of the prosecution or defense. We are here to question whether or not the material found on John O'Keefe's body matched the taillight that they are saying was broken when Karen allegedly mowed him down in this yard. If a witness cannot definitively answer the question, we don't call them as a fucking witness. This is crazy. Because all it does is add more doubt to the case. The fact that she says it could have come from another source with the same characteristics is crazy. Girl, wasting taxpayer money. Now, the neurosurgeon is saying, I kind of love this because the neurosurgeon is saying that John O'Keefe hit his head really hard, which led to him having raccoon eyes. Well, this just even, in my opinion, this shows that they're trying to say that Karen hit him with the car and she didn't. They're trying to say that she mowed him over. Actually, this fall would be more consistent with him being attacked in the front yard with, like, Brian and a dog. You know what I mean? So, this, whether or not she's convicted, this is going to be an ongoing thing. She has the money, the power, and people on her side to fight this. And we'll be hearing this name regardless, because I know that she's going to take legal action. It definitely, if she's not found guilty. Now, if she's found guilty, it'll be impossible to do that. She'll have to do that with a team of lawyers from behind bars, and if you don't have money, you can't do that. So she can do that once she's convicted, but, like, if she's not convicted, then I know that she's going to take legal action because she was framed by the sheriff's department for murder when it was one of their own, allegedly, in my opinion, that killed him. Fireworks in the courtroom. What's going on with the jury in the Karen Reed trial 4 hours ago? After a surprise start to the day in the Karen Reed's murder retrial, a brain surgeon broke down the injuries of John O'Keefe sustained. What may have caused them, what may have not caused them. What a forensic analyst testified about the debris found on John O'Keefe's clothing. And a former state police officer on how Michael Proctor's name keeps coming up in the Sergeant Yuri Bocchini testimony. Listen. So it looks like they kicked everybody out of the courtroom this morning. Cleared the courtroom, and only Reed defense and prosecution attorneys remained in the courtroom. 90 minutes went by before everybody was allowed back in and testimony began. The judge never explained what the issue was, but after speaking to jurors, she reminded them of the importance of not discussing the case with anyone or allowing anyone to discuss it with them. What do we have here? Jury tampering? Sounds like it to me. So a court person said it's likely that someone was talking about the case and somebody knew about it and somebody told the judge about it. It's a lot of pressure on these jurors to not talk about it. No, it's not a lot of pressure. It's called shutting your fucking mouth and doing your job. It's not hard at all. It's called minding your business. So Reed is accused of hitting John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend, with her SUV in 2022 and leaving him to die in the snow outside of a house party. It was not a house party. Let me start from the scratch. Alright, so there was Brian, there was John, and there was Karen. They all went out for a night of drinking. They did a little bar hopping, okay? Brian went back to his house, and then Karen, John, who was dating Karen, John asked Karen to go by Brian's house. So they swung by Brian's house. They all hung out. And then Karen, and I think Karen just dropped him off in the driveway, if I'm not mistaken. Rebecca, didn't she just drop him off? We're talking about the Karen Reed case, so if anybody has anything to put, that'd be great. Any input? So, if I'm not mistaken, she just dropped him off at the house. She didn't even go inside when she dropped John off at Brian's house. She come back the next morning and he was dead. So it was not a house party. Her defense team has said she was the victim of a vast police conspiracy and that John O'Keefe was fatally beaten by another law enforcement officer at the party. A mistrial was declared last year after the jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict. There was one interesting detail when court resumed Wednesday. All 18 jurors were still present in the jury box, but 2 of them had swapped seats. Wow, so they're acting like children in court. Listen to this. One of those jurors, I've actually seen him giggling with 2 others during sidebars on separate occasions. Shortly after those giggle attacks, the judge advised jurors not to make faces or mutter during testimony. The level of unprofessionalism that is seeped into this country, most people will not fathom unless they see it in real life. I see it out here every day. This is a jury panel of people that are supposed to be judging this woman to see if she's innocent or guilty of something, and they are over here laughing like little high schoolers. And imagine being poor Miss Karen, probably one of the smartest people in the courtroom, dealing with all of these idiots, knowing that your fate and future is in these fucking idiots' hands. And these are civilians. These are not people that are highly educated. Maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 or 12. But, you know, when you really think about the whole jury theory, they pick some of the most dumbest people for jury duty, unfortunately. Which is great for the prosecution. It's not great for innocent people to be judged by people that have no idea what is law and what is not law. Social media has been reporting that some of these jurors were sleeping or nodding off. Allegedly, some of the jurors are in there. Ugh, like, this is crazy. It didn't tell me anything that was disclosed. It's just repeating the same shit, y'all. It's so frustrating trying to find stuff and you can't. So there's a gag order on the case. So the jurors definitely, they ain't supposed to talk about it anyways because they're a juror. But to know that there's also a gag order, it's like, Jesus Christ. Today was scheduled to be a half day of testimony, but as Judge Beverly Cannon dismissed jurors for the day on Wednesday, she told them she would be giving them the day off instead today as well. Friday and Monday were already previously scheduled days off due to the Memorial Day holiday weekend. The trial is scheduled to resume on Thursday. Full days of testimony are scheduled for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hold on. Here they're talking about this juror situation again. This must have been a big deal. Wednesday's witness testimony was delayed when she said an issue come to her attention that required her to question every juror individually at sidebar. Cameras were shut off until the process was complete. When court was opened back up to the public, all jurors were present, though 2 had changed seats. A brain surgeon testified that O'Keefe's injury were consistent with falling backwards and hitting his head on the frozen ground. They're trying to say that when she hit him, it caused him to fall back and hit his head. I'm standing here like, well, what about the dog scratches and bites? Because now I think this altercation took place outside. I don't know. It looks like they're going to fry her, y'all. It looks like they're going to fry her. In the Karen Reed trial, where she is accused of killing her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, a key aspect of the defense's argument revolves around the possibility of dog bites as the cause of injury to John O'Keefe's arms. The defense has presented an expert, Dr. Marie Russell, an emergency room physician, who supports the theory that the marks on O'Keefe's arms were caused by dog bites. Let's see what the prosecution has to say these bites or marks come from. However, the prosecution has countered this claim with their own expert witness, Dr. James Crosby, a veterinary medical science expert who will be permitted to testify to dispute the defense's dog bite theory. This has led to a clash of expert testimony, with the defense arguing that their expert is qualified to identify dog bites, while the prosecution argues that their expert is equally qualified to dispute that claim. I wonder what the prosecution is going to say about those dog marks on his body. I wonder what part of her car could have caused those marks on his body. The judge overseeing the Karen Reed case allowed a dog bite expert hired by Reed's defense to testify at her second trial and blocked key testimony from an expert hired by the prosecution in a series of orders on Thursday. So it looks like they blocked the prosecutor's office from hiring their expert, and they're going with Karen Reed's expert on the bite marks or the scratches or whatever they could be. No way. I'm actually shocked. Former police Lieutenant Garrett Wayne will be allowed to testify that injuries sustained by Reed's boyfriend, John O'Keefe, were consistent with a dog attack. You know, like a dog jumping up on him, causing him to hit his head on the concrete. It's a blow for prosecutors. Judge Cannon blocked the expert James Crosby from testifying. John O'Keefe's injuries could have not come from a German Shepherd at Reed's defense. Hold on, okay, so that was the prosecution's witness. They tried to say that they were not, that these injuries that appear to be dog bites or dog scratches were not, that they didn't come from a dog, and the judge blocked it. So that means that the judge has a little bit of sense, and the judge, that Karen might get lucky. She might get lucky. It seems like they're trying to fry her and frame her. I mean, clearly, this is the second trial, and this woman is innocent. So, but for the judge to block the prosecution and allow Karen Reed's experts to testify, that says a lot. That gives a little hope to her. If you don't know how to read through the lines of law, let me read them for you and inform you. There might be a little hope for her. Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan said Crosby took molds of the dog's mouth, which made it unlikely the wounds on John O'Keefe's arm came from Chloe. So that was the prosecution's special witness. They tried to say that they took molds and it didn't match John's injuries. There has been nurses, doctors, veterinary specialists that have come out and said that those were either dog scratches or dog bites. Every medical professional that is working the medical field and saw those said, yes, that is consistent with an animal attack. It's crazy we're even having this this is what I mean when I say we're getting to a point in society where people don't know the difference between right and wrong and what is good and bad, and honesty and a lie. They just roll with it, man. Karen's trial is also a good example of the snowball basis effect, where small inconsistencies lies turn into truth, and then it snowballs into a whole 2 trials. Instead of looking at what should have been the prime suspect, which was Brian, which was also an officer. He was at one time an officer himself, which is how he knew John O'Keefe. Instead of investigators honing in on the prime suspect, they overlooked him because he was one of their own, and they went after Karen because of her inconsistent statements when she found John's body. Listen, this is why officers need to be trained in like some sort of emotional response, because everybody reacts differently to the loss of a loved one, and they should have training on how to deal with people and separate a victim from a perpetrator. They failed miserably. Reed's second trial on charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence and leaving the scene of an accident causing injury or death officially begins this past Tuesday. Prosecutors said she intentionally hit John after a night of drinking and left him to die. Reed's defense claims she's being framed and others are responsible for John's death. Separately, Reed has appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court in a bid to get the charges of murder and leaving the scene dropped on double jeopardy grounds. The nation's highest court will discuss whether to take up her petition at the conference on April 25th. Jesus Christ. The dog did it. What to know about the German Shepherd tied to the Karen Reed trial? Chloe, a German Shepherd who lived at the property where O'Keefe, 46, was found unconscious laying in the snow back in January of 22, is a wild card in the whodunit case heating up in New England. First of all, why is Brian's name? Why are they listing Chloe, a German Shepherd, the owner of this property where John O'Keefe was found dead? Riddle me this. They are trying to distance Brian from this investigation so much. The dog didn't own the property. Brian Albert owned the property. It's what they don't say that tells you what's on their mind. They're trying to make it seem like this dog owned this luscious property. Prosecutors argued Reed, 45, deliberately hit him. It's the same shit over and over. There was a series of marks on John O'Keefe's arm that appeared to come from an animal attack. Her attorney is saying that they believe that the dog was involved in this attack. Beverly Cannon, the Norfolk judge presiding the case, ruled in January that Dr. Marie Russell, an emergency room physician, can testify in Reed's second trial that the marks on John O'Keefe's bodies were caused by dog bites. They were not caused by being hit by an SUV. Yeah, well, the reason why is they're protecting Brian. I mean, it is my belief that this argument probably stemmed from something that John O'Keefe knew. I mean, they would have been going to blows out there, you know. What would cause good partners at one time what would cause them to do that? Like, to get in a fight that bad? Money, drugs, corruption. Like, I can't think of too many reasons why they would try to kill each other in the front yard or in the house, but they clearly did. They fought that night. You know what I mean? So, I'm wondering why. I wonder what this was all over. The fact that they had this Crosby guy that was going to testify that he had taken a jaw comparison from... Oh, see? Word has it that John O'Keefe did know something and he was going to talk. I believe it. And that's why they're protecting Brian Albert. That's why they just listed a dog as the homeowner where John died, instead of saying, oh, this was Brian Albert's property where John O'Keefe's body was found. You don't see them mention Brian Albert's name in any of these press releases. It's like they're distancing him. And why is he not testifying? Is he? He was the last one to see, he was one of the last people, allegedly, to see John alive. So why is he not testifying? It's weird. It's so weird. They're absolutely framing her. And what I was about to say is they hope to have this Crosby testify that he had taken a mold of the dog's mouth and the judge blocked it. There's no way that you can look at those wounds and not realize that it is consistent. And I've never even been bitten by an animal. But common sense can tell us that those look like animal bites or scratch marks or both. The fact that the prosecution had an expert witness that was going to go against this is crazy. It just shows that they're willing to lie. Because they're lying. He can only testify to the anatomy of a canine mouth or about Chloe in particular. He was trying to say that he took the mold of this dog's mouth and it wasn't consistent with, he couldn't get the mold to fit to a bite mark. Listen. It's so annoying dealing with dumb people. I mean, they're trying to set her up. They already have. This is her second trial. The day John O'Keefe died, the dog belonged to Nicole and former Boston police officer Brian Albert. He was found outside their house dead. Among injuries found on him were what appeared to be marks from an animal attack. You know what wasn't on him? His legs wasn't broke. His kneecaps weren't bloodied or bruised. His ankles weren't broke. When you get mowed down by a fucking car, those are the injuries that we see consistent in a hit and run, honey. His legs were perfectly fucking fine, but he was hit by a car. Have we really got to a place in society where common sense is just, we just gonna kick that, here, let me just throw all that shit out the window. What is wrong with people? This woman shouldn't even be on fucking trial because his injuries are not even consistent with her mowing him down. We're living in the twilight, y'all. The upside down. His legs were not consistent with being mowed over. But his injuries are consistent with a physical altercation in the front yard, and then a dog attacking him, and then him slipping and hitting his head on ice and dying, because that's what happened. It's crazy, that this gets so much attention. This is one of the largest cases in the media right now. Karen Reed, this is her second trial. At what point does the FBI step in, or the State Bureau of Investigation, or the CIA, and say, hey, maybe we need to go investigate that? Do they not have people that pay attention out here in the government? Like, seriously. Like, because that's the local police that have done this. So we would need somebody, a higher level of care. State police, FBI, to come in and investigate. They did? They investigated the department? No way. Hold on, girl. Thank you. You've been paying attention. I need to. What county was that? Hold on. Karen Reed. Police department. What'd they say? Oh, they did a federal investigation. Oh, shit, girl. Tell me. Tell me more. Tell me more. So that's that Proctor guy that I saw. Okay, so his name came up a while ago. That's why I ain't never heard of him either. So a federal investigation was initiated, potentially looking into possible police misconduct or a cover-up in the Reed case. No charges have been filed against law enforcement. The existence of a federal investigation fueled speculation about potential law enforcement wrongdoings in the case. The defense argues the federal experts' findings support their claim that O'Keefe injuries were inconsistent with being struck by a vehicle. That's what I said. We don't know much about their findings. Of course not. They're going to keep that shit close to the vest. You know what I mean? Under wraps. So, the defense argues the federal experts' findings support their claim that so the federal experts' findings. Oh, let me back up. Let me find this. The Patriot Ledger notes. Hold on. Karen Reed case. O'Keefe's body moved too soon and shoddy police work. Audit says. An audit of the Canton Police Department found deficiencies in the handling of the Karen Reed investigation. This is through the Patriot Ledger. Allegation of a cover-up in the case prompted the town to pursue an audit of the police department. Recent events involving the unfortunate and untimely death of a town resident have sparked concerns regarding the departments how they operate. I can read quicker up here than I can read out there. The 206-page report looks at the range of policies and procedures dealing with the topics such as professional standards, accountability, and conflicts of interest, and offer recommendations. 11 pages of the report are dedicated specifically to the department's investigation into the death of O'Keefe. The audit outlined shortcomings into the Canton police investigation, including the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe. According to the report, first responding officers should have photographed O'Keefe's body at the scene. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, I've been saying that from the start for 2 years, that there's no way he was hit by a car because of the lack of injuries to the legs. Common sense goes so far. Hey, just random. An email is at the top of my page. It's at the top of my page. Let's see. So I remember that we didn't have pictures of John O'Keefe's body in the snow, that would be a huge piece of evidence that would help us see exactly how he was hit. It would draw a picture of how he was hit at the scene. If we had pictures of his body laying in the snow, we could see where he was positioned from the house, from the driveway, all of that. And the cops never photographed his body at the scene. And so it looks like the federal, this inquiry, first responders should have photographed John O'Keefe's body at the scene in its original location before it was moved by emergency medical services to the ambulance. Police took photographs at the scene on their personal phones rather than using the department-provided digital camera. The reports state that interviews of all primary witnesses should have taken place the same day as John O'Keefe's death at Canton Police Headquarters had been recorded when the witnesses provided consent. A Canton officer interviewed witness Jen McCabe that morning, but at 34 Fairview Road, and it wasn't recorded. The report also found that the Massachusetts State Police and Canton Police should have maintained a presence at 34 Fairview Road until a secondary search could be conducted to maintain the integrity of the crime scene. It also states that all video footage of Reed's Lexus SUV at Canton Police Station should have been requested by and provided to investigators. Five Stone Intelligence made many recommendations in the audit, including some specifically related to the investigation stemming from the Reed case. The report states that all sergeant and patrol cars should have full crime scene kits, including evidence collection bags, sealing equipment, and digital cameras. In Reed's first trial, defense lawyers highlighted the Canton police used red Solo cups to collect bloody snow and transported them back to the station in paper grocery bags. We are genuinely getting dumber as a society. I just need to be clear that they went through law enforcement training, okay? They got like an associate or a bachelor's, homie. The audit also recommends rewriting policies and procedures to prohibit the use of personal cell phones to photograph or video crime scenes, and increasing training opportunities in areas such as crime scene investigations, interrogation, and witness interviews. So their department is massively lacking, homie. They don't even have the basics, okay? Bare minimum would be knowing how to do their fucking job. This audit, a public forum on the result of the audit conducted by Five Stones Intelligence is scheduled for blah, 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 blah. So they did a public, they was like, this is what we found. This is where we lacking. This is how we fix it. Jesus Christ. Is that it? Okay, let me go back and dig. Let me go back to dig some more. Hold on. This is crazy. Yeah, just random. I got my email at the top of my page. They don't have body cameras? That's crazy. You have a great day. Crazy fucking case, y'all. Who is that one guy, though? Here's the federal investigation. It was over on February 24th. Oh, I see that Arctic thing now. Is that, oh, it's, hold on. The documents, hold on. The federal government provided 3,000 pages of documents from their investigation of Reed's case before her trial last April. The documents included Trooper Michael Proctor's offensive text messages about, oh, that's right, that's the one that was talking shit about her. I remember now. Yeah, he's a vile little piece of trash. He was talking so much crap about her. Probably because he wants to bone her, okay? Listen. So, grand jury testimony from prosecution witness Brian Higgins about the destruction of his cell phone and the findings from ARCA, an engineering consultant firm that concluded that John O'Keefe's injuries did not come from a vehicle strike. What is this ARCA, though? Hold on. Thank you, Rebecca. So it's got one extra C in it, though. It's ARCCA. Arkansas. I don't know anybody from Arkansas. The defense has hired ARCA Incorporated, a forensic engineer and expert witness consulting firm, to analyze the case and offer expert opinions. In Karen Reed's retrial for the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, defense experts from ARCA Incorporated are a key part of the case. The crash reconstructionists, Daniel Wolf and Andrew somebody, are expected to testify that John O'Keefe's injuries are not consistent with being struck by a vehicle, which is the prosecution's theory of the case. The defense claims he was actually beaten and attacked by the homeowner at the party and then dumped outside. And at this point, given the prosecution's witness of the neurologist or doctor that said he slipped and fell and busted his head, I believe that the fight took place outside now. But what does this have to do with Proctor? I don't get it. Something happened with Trooper Proctor and ARCA. Proctor was dishonorably discharged from the Massachusetts State Police for violating the rules. So he's a crooked cop. You don't say. Proctor read on the stand inappropriate text messages about Reed and the investigation that he sent to family and friends. What did I tell y'all? They sit around laughing about locking innocent people up. I'm not joking about that. Hello? Hey, April. Proctor was also found guilty of driving his cruiser after drinking. He did something else, though. He tried to destroy some evidence. Hold on. Destruction of evidence. Maybe he didn't. I thought he did. Ooh. That taillight evidence looks planted as fuck. Look at that. How is it so perfect? Listen, if you've ever busted a taillight, you know it ain't that perfect. How are those pieces so perfect? Weird. Huh. If we look at the intact headlight for the same model Lexus LX 570, there's only one piece of the taillight with these two distinct ridges. This is not Karen Reed's car, but the same model. And as you see, the headlights are actually different. So I get what they're saying. So there's her headlight when they pulled it into the Sally port at the And that was another piece of evidence. They, like, cut the video and stuff. Like, shit was missing. We didn't have the full Sally Port video. I wonder if we will this trial. Very weird case. I mean, it's not really. It actually happens all the time. People are set up all the time. It just so happens that they fucked with the wrong woman. Like, she literally... she's got enough backing and money and fighting her. I don't think they were expecting that. My hair's getting on my nerves. A key moment in the first trial was Proctor's testimony, in which the defense justice's controversial text about Reed and the case showed that he was biased and had singled her out early in the investigation and ignored other potential suspects that existed. So he was the main investigator after John O'Keefe died. Hold on. He had a master's degree in criminal justice, John O'Keefe. And worked at the sex offender unit during his 15 plus years with the department. O'Keefe switched to an administrative role when he became the legal guardian of his niece and nephew. What happened? After the death of his sister, he became acquainted with the McCabe's through his niece, who was friends with the McCabe daughter. O'Keefe and Reed had been dating for 2 years when O'Keefe died. The couple didn't live together, but Reed spent most nights at John's home, where he lived with his niece and nephew. The teams provided first-hand accounts to investigators of the couple's allegedly deteriorating relationship, but they weren't the only ones. Just because their relationship was failing doesn't mean that she killed him. Everybody's relationship is failing. Take a look around. Before she became a murder suspect, Karen Reed worked in finance, and at one point served as an adjunct finance instructor. So her and John dated in their 20s and then reconnected on Facebook more than a decade later. She had become part of the O'Keefe family, helping care for John's niece and nephew and forming relationships with John O'Keefe's brother and wife over time. Reed said O'Keefe became critical of her child care decisions, straining the relationship. Jealousy and infidelity clouded the relationships weeks before John O'Keefe's death. Reed and O'Keefe joined the Alberts and the McCabe's and their friends at a grill downtown the night of January 28th. Karina said that Reed complained about O'Keefe's mother and the lack of private time the couple had for vacations, partly because of John's children. Reed told investigators that she left John with the Albert's residence after fighting with him in her car over childcare. She drove back to John's home and woke up the next morning in a panic when he wasn't there. That's when she drove back over and found his body. Brian Albert said O'Keefe never entered his home. Well, that's not true because we have dog fur on John. And the only place it could have came from was inside the home. So, then there's that. Not to mention what appears to be dog marks on the body. Reed's defense claims early morning phone calls between Brian Albert and his friend Brian Higgins suggest something was amiss long before O'Keefe's body was found. Members of the Cannon Police Department were the first law enforcement officers to respond. They interviewed witnesses and documented a crime scene before the Massachusetts State Police troopers arrived and then took over the investigation. By then, the Reed's defense claims Brian Albert had already started orchestrating a cover-up. Real estate records included in the defense filings claim that Albert sold the home 3 months after the incident. He sold the home and then he got rid of the dog immediately. He got rid of the dog immediately and then sold the home. That's crazy. This whole case. I feel so bad for Karen. One week after the incident, while driving past the Albert home, investigators say he allegedly found a piece of red plastic that is consistent with Karen Reed's headlamp. The conflict of interest in this case is crazy. We cannot have random civilians that should have been suspects just because they were once a cop submitting evidence into a trial. This is crazy. So Brian Albert allegedly is the one who found the taillight evidence a week after. 1 week after the incident, while driving past the Albert home, investigators say he allegedly found a piece of red plastic consistent with Reed's taillight. This is crazy. It happens every day. People go to jail. I mean, we started this off talking about Amanda Brumfield, Jesus Christ, B-R-U-M Field. Oh, God. Oh. Did I drink protein? I did. When I have my phone up there, it's in the sun and it like dies. Lord have mercy. You too, Rebecca. Have a great day. Well, I'm about to go be lazy. That's all I can do. Oh, what a day. I'm glad I got all my schoolwork done. I'm prepared for my test tomorrow. I'm excited. I swear to God, if I make anything above 96, I'll literally cry. I'll literally cry. think the hardest part for me is just the names, because there's so, like, this is like history shit, so like the names is hard for me. Trying to remember who's who and who did what and who moved mountains, you know. So thank you, Emily. Hope you're doing well. Oh. Well, I'm going to go, you guys. I hope y'all have a good day. I'm going to probably be gone for the rest of the day. Yeah. Y'all be safe. And pray for me, because God knows I need it. And I'm praying for you guys. And y'all be safe out there. Pray for Karen Reed, too.